Hello, Culture Matters podcast. We're back again with another culture content. Follow me, Jay Doran _ the Culture Man on Instagram for daily content on business, life, leadership, culture, and so much more. I'm unpacking one of the quick topics on Instagram, which is the real key to becoming a great business success, whatever that means, a great business success. I think we judge success differently. First of all, because success is going to be based on our own subjective values. Yes, there's the macro culture, there's what's accepted as successful, but at the end of the day, each of us uh, has our own view of what success is based on what we aspire to, but also based on how we actually act. So I think, what do we even mean by real key to becoming a great business success? Are you the type of person listening that is it's success at all costs, that you'd be willing to do whatever it took, regardless of how it would be judged by the culture? Are you the type of person that would be willing to shut off their conscience to do whatever it took to take and gain um, material outcome, profit? Is it profit over people? Or are you the type of person that it's people over profit? Or does the binary of either of those make any effing sense in the first place? I'm starting to think, like, the more time I've put into thinking about the inverse of profit first, which is the claim people first, the more I realize the commonalities between that ideology and the utopian ideology of some of the more dramatic or extreme political orientations in the world, that the same people, the entrepreneurs that I know that don't like, for example, they're dogmatically against communism, or whether without even fully even never having read it, never having studied it, but dogmatically against communism, um oftentimes are very pro people first in organizations, like people over profit, not realizing that there are the similar value system as communism, and how they approach businesses are the theories and methodologies of the people first in business. And oftentimes it leads to the same entitlement and disengagement and social engineering as those that believe in and attempt to make happen the communist ideologies. It's the most fascinating thing to watch, the people that buy into uh, people first oftentimes are spending most of their time not actually sacrificing and leading by example and modeling the values, which in turn is what inspires people to go the extra mile and to better their lives and to fulfill their purpose, and actually makes the organization naturally move to people first. Instead, it's ends up digressing into rules for thee and not for me. Similar phenomenon in these utopian ideologies that manifest throughout civilizations, where the the belief, the big why, it's appealing to people that actually study it, because oh, that sounds great. Who wouldn't want things to be about the people? Who wouldn't want things to be perfect? Who wouldn't think want thing who doesn't realize the contradictions in authority, or who doesn't resent leaders that oppress and control and manipulate? Because that's what's underneath the idea that, we got to get power back to the people. Who wouldn't agree with that? We all agree with it in theory, but it's putting it into practice that tends to work against itself. Something similar happens, I've observed, with people first, purpose first organizations. That's not what I preach with Culture Matters. It's actually about profit. It's actually about innovation. It's actually about the classical view of business, it's how we do it that reveals our values. It's how we have the conversations. It's how we innovate. It's the synthesis of having an awareness of caring, having an awareness of, okay, we're more than just profit. Well, of course we are intellectually, because it's what we do with the profit that will continue to create the job growth, that will continue to create meaning, because there's meaning in the sacrifice. There's meaning in saying, hey, we're aiming towards this goal. We're going to give up A, B, C, D that we want to do now in this period of time for what we want in the future. We're going to do it together. We're going to talk about it. We're none of us individually in this on this team have the answer of how we're going to get there or know exactly what it's going to look like, because we don't know the future. But each of us can contribute an idea. Each of us can sacrifice some of our individual time to influence the outcome of time in the future. We can be a part of something greater than ourselves. We also are called to be more effective. So that has a relationship with our individual competence, which has an influence over how much we practice, which goes back to personal sacrifice, which for whatever reason, as human beings, when we give up something we want for something we want more, there's this value gap that creates a meaning opportunity. Like, I feel better about myself that I did what I said I was going to do, that challenged me and almost broke me and did break me. And I'm a better version of who I was, and I feel better. And that it's a building up of my identity in a constructive, positive way, because I wanted to do one thing really badly, impulsively, reactively. But I wanted this other thing more, and I had to give up the thing that I could impulsively react through to get the thing I wanted to give more. And I had to practice, and I had to do it again and again and again, and that made me better. So I'm more effective. And now I'm challenged as a person, not just in what I do and what I'm bringing to the team, but how I'm bringing it to the team and how I'm showing up with the team, because I'm forced in the socialization of the group to be able to cooperate, to which is going to reveal to me aspects of myself that I've got to cut away and improve. And it now I'm building relationships with the team and friendships and bonds and going through experiences. And the interesting about experiences, when they're uncertain and they're hard, but we do have an aim, and we're going there together, and we're talking it through together, and we're respecting each other's sacrifices together, and we trust one another, it it becomes a meaningful experience. And we go through the hard with hope, and that makes it all worth it. And if we succeed and we make a profit, we have more energy to put into the future. We could do it again and again and again and again. And there's an enjoyment. There's a pursuit. There's a pursuit of happiness, because there's moments of happiness in that suffering. There's moments of happiness in that adversity. There's moments of hope in that call to a great adventure, to a greater unknown, to achieve something, to say that we did it, to look at that medal and say, this signifies succeeding. Like, what is success? It's having an aim. It's looking somewhere far out into the future and saying, we can go there. Who's coming? What are we, what do we need to give up? What do we need to do? What do we need to give up? How are we getting there? Who's coming? Who's not? The challenge of figuring out who's coming and who's not, and how to interact with the unknown, with what's out of our control. is a challenge to our ability to respond, which is a challenge, um, or a combustion, mechanism for meaning, or the impetus to meaning. It we grow through the process of, um, you know, business building, business creating, great business leader. I think people have different views of different of business leaders based on their value systems. Different outcomes will attract different people. There are people that are attracted to the business leader with the flash, and they want the flash. There are business leaders that are attracted to business. There are business people aspiring successes attracted to the opposite of the flash. They're attracted to, um, what's the opposite of flash? Like, because it's interesting. Flash could reveal itself in different ways. Whether you can see the flash or you can't see the flash. If someone has the capacity to flash, to represent their power, to represent their authority, to represent their influence monetarily, that's going to be represented. That can be represented in an infinite amount of ways. We're attracted to people aspiring to, choice, because with resources comes relationships with intellectual property, information, um, comes power. Like, with resources, like what capital is possibility. Capital is, I want to do something. I snap my fingers, somebody gets it done because they're on payroll. Capital is, and culture is, how does that actually happen? Do they feel, are they coerced, or are they a part of it? And these are two different worlds of leadership, and sometimes they get gray, muddy and mucked up and gray, and people have to come back together and reevaluate, reassess, and have the real conversation. Say, hey, where did I fail? We were moving too quickly, and oh well, we were in a time of crisis, and we needed you to just act because we were at war and we were all going to die. I thought we already had those conversations. I thought we had the goodwill. I thought there was trust. My bad. I thought we were on the same team. I thought we were fighting the same enemy. I didn't I didn't think we needed to have another conversation about it. I just didn't want us all to die. Sometimes, so that's where rituals come in, coming together to listen and to speak, and that's where courage comes in, to speak in the possibility of terror, or the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. What are the consequences going to be for my honesty? So going back to the resources piece, in theory, each individual has a resource called the conscience that they can say what they think. But the conscience is in a battle with this world. It's in a battle with the actual abundance or scarcity of resources of the individual. We all have different degree of resources, and I believe those are the quantity and quality of our resources will influence our resourcefulness. And we we have to, this is why reading and learning and studying and information builds resourcefulness. If we're informed, we're information. We can put ourselves in order and figure out a plan and be resourceful to potentially gather resources, or show up to relationships that have more resources, that are at a higher standing in society. And then they will open up doors for us. They'll hire us, or they'll advise us, or they'll mentor us. It's our resourcefulness has to be proportional, like, to our resources, in a, like the more resources we have, the more resourceful we have to be so that eventually we don't lose our resources because of the revolution of the people. On the other end, if we lack resources, the more resourceful we have to be so we can get resources. Because if I'm not resourceful and I lack resources, how am I ever going to move up the dominance hierarchy? Now, if I have tons of resources, I can easily be less resourceful as an individual because I'm so apt to call in other relationships so that they compensate for my lack of resourcefulness, but my as an individual, but my ability to empower their resourcefulness is a resource in itself, but it's a resource that only so long can I use other people's intellectual property, relationships, resourcefulness, reasons before they eventually say, I don't want to do this for this person anymore. They're just I don't respect them. I don't admire them. I don't trust them. They're not like me. They're using me. That's where the person that has tons of resources and lots of relationships and maybe once had reasons to, because remember, values are modeled in behavior. What we what we do, how we show up, is what teaches people our values, not just what we say. That's how we hold each other accountable, and what we leaving environments, being a part of environments, is the accountability mechanism. Like it's accountability is given in speech or taken in action. Responsibility is modeled. So this, if we're talking about the real key to becoming a great business leader, it's going to be our relationships with our resources, our reasons, and our relationships. And that's we all have a and that changes over time. And if we build a business that becomes very successful, it can have an inverted influence over our reasons. We can lose our purpose. People that create success all the time, they hit depression. They stop doing what got them there. They at that point are surrounded by people that desire their resources, that tell them what they want to hear and yes them and lie to them, and they lie, and they in turn are the kings and queens of lies, sitting on their thrones, disengaged, lacking purpose, unclear of their reasons, not as resourceful individually as they once were, unable to get the most out of the people, the relationships around them because they're less resourceful, because they're lying, and those under them are lying, and everyone's less resourceful, but their appears they have lots of resources, and they may do have lots of capital. They have the strong brand, they have all these customers, but also, but as no matter what you see as aesthetically, all the flash is there. But the power is weakening. The foundation is cracking because the culture is built on a house of lies, a house of rationalizations, a house of false agreements, a house lacking real relationships, real reasons, real purpose, real resourcefulness that gives the spirit to resources. So a real key to becoming a great business leader is resourcefulness, which is a reflection of the spirit, which is a continual evolution of where are we going? Why are we going there? What do we need to do? What do we think we need to do? And why? What would we have to give up to accomplish it? How can we actually accomplish it? Who do we need in the room to help us accomplish it based on what they see that we can't see? Who do we need out? Why? How do we get them out without modeling values we wouldn't want modeled on ourselves? And how long are we willing to carry this? And how competent are we? And how efficient can we work together? It's, a journey with our as individuals and as a group. And the complexity of that is exponential because when you have more and more and more and more people, you're going to have more and more and more and more different subjective value systems brushing up against one another as they reorient and kind of develop a collective average that must align with that outcome that we're all seeking, or else we're going to fail. Is a great business leader judged by the fruit, what they've created? At some degree, it is. And that, in this world, it definitely is. And then the next question becomes, in the next world, is it judged by how they did it? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. That's for you to decide. I would say relationships, resources, and reasons are variables on how that will demonstrate the success of the great business leader. Keep following along. Go check out the episodes on the CEO manual where I go deep in the rabbit hole on the relationships, resources, and reasons, the three R's of the CEO. Follow me, Jay Doran _ the Culture Man. Leave us your review on the Culture Manners podcast, and I will see you next.